I've been working in animal welfare for almost 30 years, so all I've been telling folks that entire time is cats like to be with other cats. You gotta get more cats, adopt more. You only have one cat in your life? What are you, nuts? Get more cats. Cats, 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 cats. But that said, sometimes people think you could just take a few cats, throw them in a room, and it's gonna be great. That's not the way it works. So that's why I'm here to show you the way it works. Let's get mojo-fied. Hey everybody, Jackson Galaxy, your cat daddy. Today on Cat Mojo, we're going to talk about the best way to get your cats together so that you can have a nice big happy cat family. Now I've talked about introductions plenty before, and you can check out this video right about here for the basics on cat-to-cat introduction. Today I want to dive a little bit deeper. I want to talk about a concept called the challenge line. The challenge line is a concept that once we start getting into it, it'll work for introducing a new cat to a new territory, and it'll work for both cats when it comes to introducing a resident to a new cat. Challenge line works for humans and cats and dogs and crocodiles and hedgehogs and every other species on the planet. The idea is the same. When we're faced with something that is uber challenging, often we will shrink back. But if we sort of dip our toes into the challenge, then we're more likely to approach it little bit by little bit. So the challenge line, very simply, is on one side is comfort, on the other side is challenge. Over here, I am just gonna do whatever it takes. I will, dance around, I will eat, I will do whatever, I'll play. But right here, that's where things get a little dicey, and I just don't think I can hang over here. We're just gonna move that line in such a way that your cat's not even gonna know what's happening. And by the end of it, they'll be ready to tackle new experiences, ready to not tackle a new cat. It's the quickest, easiest way that I know to get two cats together. So the first challenge line, if you're a new cat coming into a new territory, it's the whole territory. You don't have your smell in it, you haven't patrolled it before, you don't know what the ins and outs and what the dangers are. It's all challenge and no comfort. And that's why one of the mistakes that folks make is that they bring a cat into a home, they put them in a room, and all of a sudden the cat's under the bed for a week. You haven't seen your new adoptee for a week. So that's why we create a base camp for all of our new arrivals, because we're giving them the ability to mark certain areas, to perch in a window, to start owning things by putting their scent all over it. If you haven't watched this video here on base camp, it's a great place to start. It's an incredible way to just embed confidence and get that challenge line away from them, at least for the beginning. But the challenge line then becomes, when are you going to let them out into the rest of the house? They will let you know. See, that's the thing about challenge lines. You will know when a cat is up against it, because they're just going to go from a confident posture, chest up, ears neutral, tail up in the air like this, and suddenly they're tucking their tail, their ears are back, their eyes are huge, they're looking for trouble in all the wrong places. That's what an unconfident posture looks like, and that's when you know you might have done it a little too fast. So back it up again, keep them in base camp until they're coming to that door and they're like, what is on the other side of that door right now? I want to know, I want to get there. That's when you know that their challenge line has been moved and they're ready to move on. Now, you could be very lucky and you get a new cat who comes into the home and they are within an hour, they're like, hey, what's on the other side of that door? Wonderful. You've got a really confident cat who is very adaptable to new environments and they're ready to go. But you gotta be able to know when that moment is. If they're still creeping around the room, if they're low down to the ground, if they go to the door and then they back up, these are all signs that your guy is just not ready to go yet, and that's okay. The more they explore the room, the more you help them explore the room, the more you play with them in that room and give them scent soakers, etc. Once they own the base camp, they're ready to move on, but you just got to know what that looks like. As you're learning your new arrival cat, you're going to know where those challenge lines are. Is it just at the corner of the bed? Is it the door of the closet? Which I'm hoping once they get past those spaces, you block them off. You let them know that was a challenge. It's no longer a challenge. But once that cat can move around that room, they can go to the window and say, this is the neighborhood. I understand that the windows have been open for a while. You have screens in the window, but they can smell the whole neighborhood and they go, okay, this is all fine. They're moving around base camp with the utmost confidence. Now we have a new challenge line, and that challenge line is the door. Now, in the other videos that I've made, and in books, and in TV shows, and wherever, you've always seen me do this one way, and that is cats meet cats from opposite sides of a door. And that way, they're meeting each other through scent. We can control the experience. We can control how positive it is without them ever laying eyes on each other. Because really, in my experience anyway, if two cats are sitting there, they've never met before, and they lock eyes, man, the lockdown leads to a throwdown. It happens constantly. This way, we control every element of it, and we do it by expanding their challenge line, getting them confident on either side of the door until they're here, and then by the time we open up the door, no surprises. Now as we get them into the rest of the house, you open up that whole house to them, and I don't even care if you're living in 800 square feet or 8,000 square feet. Sometimes it's just too much for a cat that needs to feel ownership in order to move forward confidently. That's where the idea of site swapping really comes in handy. In this way, you are literally swapping sites. Your resident cat needs to know what it smells like to be in the base camp, and the new arrival needs to know what the rest of the house looks like, but you can do it in a controlled way. For a certain amount of time every day, you bring your resident into the base camp, you take your new arrival, and you bring them to other spots in the house. Not the whole house, just other spots. And what do you do once you get there? You let them explore, and also play with them while they're doing it. Give them treats while they're doing it so that they associate all of these new spaces with good things, room to room, until the entire house is familiar, it's associated with positive experiences, and you're good to go. Just remember a couple of things. Do it in a controlled way. As soon as your cat starts to experience a little bit of fear, or your resident cat a little bit of aggression with the way they're smelling things, call it a day. If it's 10 minutes, if it's 10 seconds, it doesn't matter. You always want to try to end things on a high note. So we talked about the challenge line as it applies to base camp and site swapping. Now we're going to talk about how we are going to finally introduce cat to cat and how that applies to the challenge line. Food motivation, in my experience, is king when it comes to getting a cat to want to do something they might not want to. Meal feeding is key, because by the time you introduce these cats, they will associate the other cat with the smell of food. I only smell food when I smell this other cat, so the cat can't be a bad thing altogether. The most important thing that we can do, once we've got cats on a meal feeding program, now we know they're expecting meals, we're going to put these meals on either side of a closed door, and that's the way we're going to slowly make so that there is positive association with every step along the way. And you notice how I'm doing this? That's the challenge line. We need to find that place, that line, where your new arrival is comfortable eating on one side and not so much on the other side of that line. If you've got your resident cat eating on the other side of the door and your newcomer over here, there's going to be a moment where your newcomer will eat, no problem, clean myself, walk away. If they walk up to that bowl and they are even remotely trepidatious, if they're not sure if they can make it, and ultimately they don't really eat the whole meal, you know you've crossed their challenge line. So back it up. I don't care if you wind up 7 feet from the door. As long as that cat will eat and walk away, you know that they're in a comfortable place. Your resident should be an equal distance away from the other side of the door. So let's put it this way. If we found the challenge line at about 5 feet away from the door for your newcomer, that means that your resident should be 5 feet away from the door on the other side, 10 feet total. And then with every meal, we just keep moving it forward. Every time we're gauging how much challenge, how much comfort. Again, as long as they're willing to just eat and walk away, no fear, no shrinking away, and on the other side, no charging the door, no under the door, no shenanigans of any kind. Eat and walk away. We know that we've hit the challenge line, but we haven't just jumped over it to the point where bad things will happen. And like I said, with every meal, we go closer and closer. Every time I smell the other cat, I smell my food, good things are happening, let's move on. Until we've gotten to the place where, let's say there's a foot or so between door, cat, and now we're ready to back it up again and introduce visuals. The best way that I know to do things is either through a screen door, which I know is a little bit much for people, but it really isn't that big a deal. You can take a door off and put a screen door on to a door, and it really is a whole lot easier than you think. I did it, and if I can do it, Anybody can do it. Moving on. If you can't do a screen door, a gate that is high enough so that cats won't jump over it, that's just fine as well. The technique that I use when introducing challenge line with visuals is what I call raising the curtain. I will drape a blanket over that gate. We don't have a full visual at first. It's all scent. But with every meal, we just raise that blanket just a little bit. I can sort of see you, but you know, I still want to eat and everything's cool. I can sort of see you more, everything's cool, I'm still eating. Once we've established that we can get them close without seeing each other, we can back it up and they can see each other now and they'll eat. That eating is a sign that the challenge line has been crossed successfully. So whether it's you moving closer, whether it's you raising the curtain, every time you do a little bit and they still eat, you know you're doing fine. So our final challenge line here is we've got them to eat on opposite sides of a closed door. We've got them to eat on opposite sides of a door where they have visual access. But now we're going to allow them to have physical access to each other. That's the final challenge line here, to be able to do that in a way where fight or flight doesn't kick in and they go at each other. The way to do that is a technique called eat, play, love. The idea is whatever the big value things are for these cats, because individually it could be food, it could be a toy, or it could be just you showing them love and petting and asking them to follow you. Individual cats, individual eat, play, or love. All we're doing now is during that mealtime, we are going to open the gate. We're going to do that with confidence because we have confidence now of what's going to happen. And whether it's leading a cat into the room with a toy, whether it's having your new cat having a toy or food or whatever it is, as long as they're not focusing on each other, but we're leading them into the room confidently, that's it. The rest of this is cake, really. But as long as we keep doing it in incremental ways, and like I said, one of the most important things, always end things on a high note. When we're getting it to the point where we have removed the physical barrier, we are getting them crossing their challenge lines, getting into a new room or another room, meeting another cat, but doing it confidently. As soon as you see a lack of confidence, as soon as you see that challenge line approaching, so whether it's a scared cat and they start to shrink back, whether it's a cat who's getting a little aggressive, that's it. Call it a day, and it's cool. And every day we knock down a few more minutes. We knock down to a point where suddenly we've gone from 5 minutes to 15 minutes to a half hour. We're done. We have, whether it's inch by inch, day by day, room by room, moment by moment, we are knocking down challenge lines in a methodical way so that there's never a leap that a cat has to take. Whether it's fear or aggression or over ownership of territory, they never cross that challenge line in a way that we have plunged them into the unknown. Because I can tell you one thing with cats, you plunge them into the unknown, they're either going to fight or they're going to flee. And neither one of them is a good thing when they're meeting a new cat. So to sum everything up here, and I really want to make sure that you guys understand this, I am not giving you the step-by-step to introduce cats. We do that in other videos and in books and in TV shows. This is about the concept of the challenge line and how overall approaching challenge lines in a controlled and constructive way will get that meeting process done in the least amount of time with the least amount of damage and alternately with the most amount of mojo. And as far as I'm concerned, as long as a new arrival has mojo and your resident cat has mojo, everything will be great. Like I've been saying throughout this video, I've got plenty of other resources for you to learn the ins and outs of cat ownership, of mojo, and of meeting cat to cat. Whether it's the other videos that I've referenced or my books, Total Cat Mojo, that's a great place to start. And the more you learn about your cat family, you can bring them to challenge lines throughout their life, and as they move past them, they become even bigger, greater versions of themselves. And whether they're human children or animal children, as parents, that's all we want for them, right? We want them to be able to walk through life with a measure of greatness. And all of the tools that I'm giving you to go through challenge lines, that's how you get to greatness. That's it for this time, you guys. Show your cats love. Show love somewhere in the world today because, man, that's all that counts these days. Until the next time I see you, all light and all love and all mojo to you.
Meow.